I like your background, David.
That was the grand opening ceremony. I put my face handily where my actual face was. So.
Okay. Good.
As you can see in the top right, and you may have gotten a message, we are now streaming on YouTube for the public. But we only have 3 of you, so right now no quorum. Wait a couple more minutes. If there's no quorum, I'll just give you my little update.
Oh.
1, 2, 3. There's 4 of you. Let me count.
Kathy, I'm back, Lisa. Sorry, I lost the connection and then I couldn't find my passcode. And I'm good. I'm good now. So sorry about that.
Well, you do have quorum if you count Sylvana, the chair, as a voting member. So you are allowed to move forward on the agenda now.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. It's Wednesday, April the 13th. I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Historic Sites Board at this time. It's 12:05. Second on the agenda, anyone have to declare any conflict of interest with the agenda? None noted. Stephen, are you nodding because there is or not? Okay. Adoption of agenda for the Historic Sites Board meeting for today's April 13th. As presented, we need a mover.
I could move it.
David?
I was going to move it, but I guess you're looking for a seconder now?
A seconder?
I heard somebody, was it Steve?
It was
okay.
Alicia.
Alicia
okay.
was the
yes. I
mover.
Will second.
David is the seconder. All in favor? Carried. Resolved that the agenda for Historic Sites Board meeting for April 13th, 2022 as presented be approved. Adoption of minutes. We need someone to motion the meeting of March 9th, 2022 as approved.
I'll move it.
David, a seconder. Stephen, all in favor? Carried. Resolved that minutes of the Historic Sites Board meeting of March 9th, 2022 be approved.
Looks like Councillor Hollingsworth is jumping on here. Okay. So
next on agenda, business arising.
I don't think there is any on my part.
Does anyone have questions? We're good. So we can refer to the accounts.
They weren't available when I sent out your agenda package, but I can do a quick screen share for you.
Okay.
Not much has changed since the last meeting because we were closed and operating minimally, except we did take in under our programming user fees for March break and the egg hunt coming up. So we have had some revenue come in that way. But basically, this last little while since the last financial statement is this right here, the 49.5 that came in for the Safe Spaces COVID relief funding. That was actually, I'll show you in a second on a different spreadsheet. That was what we aimed to spend before March 31st. So it's not all processed through the accounts, but it has been spent. So, so these other areas under materials and supplies and maintenance and repairs are going to show an increase this year over and above the budgeted amounts once we get closer to year end, just because it'll offset this amount, which was 100% funding. Is there any questions that you see that I can answer? I am going to just stop that for 1 sec and show you. This is, it can maybe, there. So this is that 49,000. So we have replaced the furnace in the summer kitchen and with HEPA filtration. And so that's installed and there's just a little bit left to do. That was all done before, the main part done before March 31st. Our washroom in the summer kitchen now has censored tap and toilet. We got in our plexiglass barriers. They're really nice. They're on wheels. We can use them to block off exhibits. We can use them if people would like between tables and chairs for our bubble seating. Then we also got various table sizes to help with that. All on order, but coming is all this live streaming equipment. So camcorder, microphones, projector, mixer, teleprompter, and our POS system for the gift shop, which will allow us to look at all kinds of different options for e-commerce and online ticketing. And then we got electrostatic sprayers and some crowd control for social distancing, those posts with the retractable ropes. So stanchions, they're called. That's it. So that was all part of that by March 31st. Spent fast. So it was, oh, we lost David, I think. Was there any questions on? Not much different in the last little while.
Kathy, it's Sandra. I just want to let you know I'm with you guys. I had internet problems, but I'm here.
That's okay. Great. We can hear you.
Thank you.
Because the financials weren't part of your agenda package, we can wait, or if you'd like to pass a motion to accept the expenses incurred to date, you can. Whatever you're comfortable with, it can be deferred to the next meeting and we can do it then, or it's up to you.
What do you suggest, Kathy?
I think we'll get the next statement in the agenda package. If it's not available, you'll have this statement anyways. So that way you have it, you can, and then it's officially available for passing resolution. So we can wait.
Okay, so we'll review it again then at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments? So the next would be,
Just one
oh,
comment.
David?
I
Yeah.
lost my internet there for about 5 minutes. I just
Oh.
rejoined. So in case you were wondering what was going on. Anyway, I'm back.
Great.
Welcome back.
Next on the agenda is the curator's report. Kathy, more information?
Yes, I've got lots to share.
Okay.
So let me see. The first one that is so the annual report is something that goes to council usually in May. We try because May is museum month, and May 2nd, by the way, the proclamation will be read for May is museum month. And this year for May, we are promoting some of our May events. The museum and Atomica have on International Museum Day, May 18th, they are doing a natural history day and exhibit. And the Bush Plain still has the Science North Guinness Book of Records. So all of that is under the proclamation on May 2nd. We also take our firearms exemption. So that'll be May 2nd so that we have it for the season. And the heritage muskets and cannon can be utilized on the property then. So we sort of do everything in May just so that because May is museum month, and according to the Historic Sites Board bylaws, the annual report from the year before must be presented to council. So we've always just sort of targeted May. So the first draft is done. You will receive it for the May Historic Sites Board meeting. But it's short and sweet this year because of the closure factors. So I've done an executive summary that I have to just review and tweak before you get it. Our mandate for the site and the governance of the Historic Sites Board is always in at the beginning. But here's sort of the quick review for you. Visitation, because of COVID closures and restricted, allowances on numbers of people allowed back in at once. The pie chart shows the blue is 2019, the orange is 2020, and the gray is 2021. So it's just the way the state of the affairs over the pandemic. What we did do is after 2019 is start virtual programming. So we were using social media, but we pivoted really fast to keep up with as much as we could do. So 2020, we were very excited to engage 46,000 people. 2021, we even surpassed that with 56,000. And we took our education programming virtually as well. In 2021, we served 2,462 students over Zoom. I'm getting to be quite the actress. So, and then the report has actual full breakdown over the years for comparisons of everything that you'll see that when it comes. This is a comparison of the on-site special events. So 2019, as you can see, it was really high because we had Poutine Feast. And this year, it'll look like that again. So anyways, this is in the report, a list of all the things we did and how we pivoted to the times, whether it became a virtual event whether it became a curbside pickup and virtual event, and whether we were able to do something on the front lawn. So the report is drafted. It goes over everything in full detail. This is all the curriculum programs I just talked about, and what grades we did. And then it goes over the gift shop. This is the comparison of what the gift shop has made in net revenue over the last few years. We have only operated it ourselves since 2017. Prior to that, the space was rented to the Voyageur, and they ran the gift shop and paid us rent. So, but this is now, we're not getting the rent, but we're making the revenue, net revenue. And then the rest is real detail-y stuff that is required by museums and the standards. So how many days of the year you're open, how many hours. I've listed the impacts, which I have great news to tell you about. These are all coming back, every one of them. And then it goes on about volunteers and the Historic Sites Board, staffing, and then maintenance. So the last section, which is, virtual engagement, and then maintenance. So this will be in your next package, the Historic Sites Board. You all have to take a moment and review it and sort of give me advice if there's something glaringly missing, or if you have questions, because it needs a resolution from Historic Sites Board on the operations of 2021, and then it can go to council. Probably the next day for the agenda package, later May, end of May it goes. On that as well, they don't have to go to council at the end of May, but I'll be picking back up with some of you on the policy review. So I just like to have some newly revised by sometime in June, because June is usually when the Community Museum operating grant is due. So,
Kathy, it looks like Sandra has a question.
oh yeah, your hand's up. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, thank you. Kathy, are you required by the museum, or you probably doing it on your own because you're that type of organized person, or maybe Malcolm is asking you to do this, but do you have to do a debrief on COVID, and do you have to relook at policies, and do you have to recreate a policy manual? Heaven forbid if COVID happens again or some other pandemic happens again, what have we learned? Is there like an emergency policy package that we have to produce now to follow for the future? I hope I'm explaining myself well enough.
Yeah, so we've been keeping track here. First of all, there's a number of things we've been keeping track of, and we do report back quarterly to senior management on the effects of COVID on our foregone revenue and what we have done on expenses to try and save some money. So that goes quarterly, along with those key performance indicators, the stats on that chart that I just showed you, how many visitors, how many school tours. And on top of that, we've been keeping a file going here on how we have changed our cleaning, how we work on having, lesser people at events, sort of the different on-site changes. And because I believe that those need to be recorded. Someday I won't be here and there'll be something else come along. And so we're trying to keep, I have not formally been asked to hand in a manual. The city has a COVID policy and procedure that Algoma Health Unit has approved, but it's global and there's site-specific things that we're trying to keep track of. Did I answer your question?
Yep, thank you. I know you're always on top of it, but I just heard rumors that cities will have to do a debrief, and municipalities will eventually have to put some, concrete manual together of some sort, just to have on the shelf, just in case, this happens again in the future. So I wasn't sure if it started to bubble down to you or not, but I don't know if that's really true. I just heard a rumor, so I just thought I asked the question.
No, it's a very valid point, and we have to take a look always on site at our emergency and evacuation plans, as a basic facility of the city. But on top of that, as a museum, it's part of the standards. What do you do in an emergency for the collection? So we in the museum world with the Ontario Museum Association, we're discussing this very thing. Is this something that should be now part of that, the emergency and evacuation plan, a section on infectious disease control, not just COVID, but and how to handle that on site. So yes, it's coming. We've been keeping
exactly. and again, Kathy, I'm seriously, I always give you kudos because you're so on top of it. One last question on this. Can you see us continue on providing hand sanitizer even when COVID, hopefully, is behind us? Do you think that's going to be a practice that's just ongoing?
Yes, as a matter of fact, right when you were logging in, I was reviewing the Safe Spaces grant we had received, and I contacted Canadian Heritage because, believe it or not, it was hard to spend all that money. And the original price quotes were higher than the actual cost. So I called them and I said, can I just buy a whole bunch of hand sanitizer stands? Because in the future, I think it should continue. And, even for big events outside, like I'm thinking Poutine Feast and all of those, it's just a practice that I'm going to just here on the site anyways. I think we should continue. I'm not sure what the policies will be citywide or by public health, but I think it'll be something we'll just continue. It's just a safe practice. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. And sorry that it took me a little while to log on. I apologize, but thank you for a great answer. Yeah. And I agree with, the events we have outside, and people are enjoying, the biscuits and wonderful, homemade baking. So having that extra hand sanitizer, I think would make people feel better, especially, with kids and so forth. So thank you, Kathy. Much appreciated.
There'll be lots around on Good Friday for the egg hunt.
Hopefully no rain.
Kathy.
Yes.
Stephen?
Question. Yes. Have you spent all that money now already for COVID relief that you mentioned?
Yes. We had originally put in what we were going to spend it on, and they approved based on that. So, and it had to be just basically equipment. So let's say it was the hand sanitizer stations. They did not approve the liquid that goes in them because it's a consumable product.
Right.
Yeah. So yes,
that what about temperature checkers?
Pardon?
Like temperature gauge checkers, where you could just like walk up and put your hand up to the sensor and it'll automatically tell you your body temperature.
Oh yeah, we did not. The thermometers and things like that.
Yeah, because I just came back from Mexico and they had those almost at every store. They were just automatic sensors where you just put your hand up to it and it automatically showed your temperature.
Wow.
Yeah, and then there's an automatic hand sanitizer station that you use with your foot. you know, so everything, like it was quite the process that I seen when I was there, and I was quite impressed on how effective it just seemed to be, and everyone just put their hand right up to it, hand sanitizer right there, and everyone was good to go.
That's great.
Yeah, it's something I never didn't see much around here. Was the automatic temperature gauges where you can just put your hand or your wrist up to it and it just automatically tells you your temperature. So
I'm gonna make note because down, never know what may come in another infectious disease, and that's good to check that out.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
that
sometimes you just keep right at the entrances for guests and stuff like that. So
yeah. Okay. Good point. So just now then, we are entering our, we have a whole bunch of stories steeped in stone performance series, long word, which is a grant that the Friends have received from Canadian Heritage to support the arts sector. And so we have our second show is this week, Thursday night in the theater. And if anyone's, Sylvana's in there now and it looks normal where she is, but that's the only spot. The rest is set up with a theater stage, curtains, lighting. We have an on-air sign. It's quite like a live TV show, sort of, except that instead of being on TV, we're live streaming. And so when the live streaming begins at 7 p.m. for each show, this sign lights up that says we're on the air. And then we also have someone that runs around after each presentation that says applause. And and the first show was wonderful with Joel Surratt and Peter White. It was sold out. So it's limited tickets of 25 for being face to face and here on site. That gets food and beverage, and while you're watching the show, and then the rest of the world has to see it live streamed. And so we have 13 performances this year on that program. I just a quick review, March Break Cultural Corridor. We sort of spoke about it at the last meeting, but it was very successful. The families that bought the package, and we saw hundreds of families come through all the sites. And by doing it collaboratively, we all said that it saved each of us sort of time and energy trying to run a March Break program, and only having, let's say, 12 children for X amount of money. This brought us a lot of families, and we actually all made over $700 from the sale of the pass. So it was great. I think we all want to do it that way again.
Yes, we do.
If I could comment on that, sorry, through the chair to Kathy, it's Sandra, if I can comment, that was fantastic. You know, I was going through the community, just minding my own business, and complete strangers were coming up to me and say, hey, guess what? We used the pass and it was wonderful. And I didn't prompt for any feedback. So I had 3 different families that just talked so much about it, so highly, with positive comments. It just made me feel so proud of what you guys have done. So the message got out there, people used it. So very exciting. So congratulations.
Thank you. We all were really excited. I think it didn't hurt that we were open again. The restrictions for COVID had lifted, and I think it was beautiful weather, and we just had people that were very excited to get out, and it worked. We saw a lot of grandparents with their grandchildren parents are still working. So it was wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Here.
So next year, let's try it. Hopefully you guys try it again. And I know that it's all baby steps, and I hope that people in Wawa and Elliott Lake and those outlining communities will say, hey, let's go to Sault Ste. Marie for a couple of days and do this pass idea. So again,
Yeah, and
it's just
that's
wonderful.
a good point. We did speak to Tourism Sault Ste. Marie and said, you know, maybe it is something that we can push out next year more, so to get people to come to the Soo.
Yeah, and if you need help, I think Sue today, Jeff Algie always likes to give free advertising for community events. So I think we should engage him if I can make that suggestion for next year.
Okay,
And if you need help with that, I'd be happy to help you with that.
great, thanks. So our next big event here is Friday, and our egg hunt is sponsored by Sue Mill and West End Theater Project. And we have a few spots left in the afternoon for families to register, but the morning's all sold out, which is 25 spots every 15 minutes throughout the day. And the children will come to us first. They will do some egg crafts and Easter crafts in the theater, and then they will go on the egg hunt or egg scavenger in the Old Stone House. And we have a treat bag ready for them. And then they take one of the crafts plus some of the clues on our scavenger hunt to Entomaka and the Bush Plain, and they do activities over there and the egg hunt and egg scavenger over there. They get another treat bag and enter for the big grand prizes from the two of us, Easter baskets. So it's going to be a busy day again. So it's really nice to see the uptake on these.
And through you, Chair, if I can make another comment.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So I did reach out to the mayor, and I brought to his attention 3 weeks ago that you're doing this. And so I don't know if he's touched base with you, Kathy, but he seemed very excited about joining you with his girls. So may I make a suggestion, because he's so busy, maybe you want to just follow up with him and CC Lisa Bell to say, I understand that you and Councillor Hollingsworth were talking about the Easter hunt, and he texted me back. He's like, oh, I'm so glad you told me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so I would just do a little nudge if I can make that suggestion.
I will check that out. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. That's all.
Now, the next is as I said, May is Museum Month, so proclamation May 2nd. But we start, I got to get my running shoes on because the cruise ships are arriving starting in May. We have starting mid-May, 6 already in May, 6 cruise ships coming. We also have the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council Art Gala on the 14th of May. And on top of that, we have 6 actual weddings and lunch bookings. So there are 14 dates booked in May, and that's just the start. The rest of the summer is the same. So it's very exciting that we're back. And it could be a good, if things, cross our fingers, go as we go along and the pandemic doesn't force us into closure again, we will have another year like 2019. So yes, we have a school coming next week. So face to face, we are doing the 3-hour Pioneer Living. They come and do a lot of chores. and learn about the pioneer living and all the chores the children had to do. And they help bake their lunch on the hearth, and they do all kinds of things like quill and ink. They bring in the wood so we can keep the fire going and all those kinds of things. And they will learn about every form of pioneer living in that 3 hours. So I couldn't believe it. The phone rang for this booking, and I said, we're allowed to have face-to-face programming again. So it was I told the teacher, I'm very excited. You are going to be our first class back. So it may lead then to, we usually get them in June for, field trips at the end of school. So we'll see what happens. So that's my update. We're going to be busy again.
That's fabulous, Kathy. I mean, it's evident your hard work, your great staff, and it's just a lot to look forward to. And the community, I'm sure, appreciates, all of the things that are happening here, and, all to good things. Thanks to you.
Well, thank you. It's been a learning curve for everyone in the museum field anyways. We've learned how to do time ticketing. So activities are timed. There's only so many on site at once. And I think it's really nice. I think we might continue to do things sort of that way. It allows control on the event. As we get to bigger events like Poutine, there has been talk of time ticketing, but not as of yet. But we know how to do it if we need to. So
now, because there are so many events to look forward to, do you have like the volunteers or the summer students that are lined up, or do you have to reach out to a lot more people to help with these events?
So as we move forward, we will have summer students. I just finished interviews with the city of Sault Ste. Marie, so and we're just kind of also waiting on the summer grants to see how many from the interviews we can hire. As you know, we've applied for Young Canada Works and Summer Experience Program for funding for students. And those take our one little summer student line of expenses in the budget, operating budget for one student. It takes it to three or four, depending on the funding percentages. So we're just waiting on those to see how our applications withstood the review process. We have in the past received all of them, so we could get up to 3 or 4 students, which is fantastic. That's what we're aiming for. Then we will be, for events, doing a call out to reenactors for certain events. And sometimes we have our little groups come even for cruise ships to help us bring history to life. And then we will, for big events like Poutine, we will be doing a call and a schedule for different things that we have to have extra volunteers for. So it's coming. So if you're looking to volunteer, we'll put you down. It's fun to be here during some of the events. So especially when it's outdoors and there's live music and beer gardens and poutine.
More memories to come.
Yeah.
Any questions? Thanks for the information and the questions, and any other before we move on? So next on the agenda is any things to report from the Municipal Heritage Committee. Alicia, maybe, or?
I can speak on that.
Okay.
So for the most part, we talked about, I don't know if you guys remember the Doors Open event that was held, I believe, in 2004 2004, 2005. So there was talk from the last meeting and again at this meeting about possibly doing something like that, maybe on a smaller scale. They did put together like a working group just to figure out if it's something that can even happen this summer, because last time we had it, it took a year in planning and we needed at least 14 sites to participate. So we talked about doing a smaller one with maybe 5 to 8 historic sites. There was also talk about possibly waiting until the fall to do it, maybe even making it as part of culture days, but everything's still in its preliminary stages right now. So at our next meeting in May, we should have a better idea of if it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, in that sense. It would be nice to see, but then again, these things, they involve a lot of different people. So it all depends on also too what the working group can come up with. And they're reaching out to different vendors and different community members and organizations in the meantime. So you should know what's going on with that. And then one of the other things we looked at was we reviewed an application for heritage designation on a residence on Summit Avenue. It's a 3rd generation family-owned home. I believe it's 54 Summit. And the application was absolutely beautiful. So we reviewed that. There's a bit more research we have to do on that, but it's looking promising so far. But that was pretty much what we covered. A few more updates with the Heritage Award. There was a subcommittee that got together in January to work on revising the application guidelines, like who can apply, who can't apply. So they've been working on that. So that should be finalized in the next couple of months as well, and have an amended and revised Heritage Award application. But that's pretty much it.
Kathy?
I put in the chat as you were speaking, Alicia, because right when you said what you were talking about, so it was doors open, because I guess we're all having internet problems today. So, and I know that I'm attending a meeting, I think next week, to just for, I think a few others about doors open. And then down the road, if it should happen, the Historic Sites Board has always been involved, because the site would be open whenever that event happens. So we'll keep you informed.
Thank you, Alicia. Any other questions for her or comments? Any other new business?
I don't have any.
Everyone okay with that? So our next meeting is May 11th at noon.
Just Madam Chair, as of this moment, we're still being instructed to continue doing virtual meetings due to the high uprise in the COVID cases in Algoma. So I will advise you as we get closer to May if it's going to be a face-to-face one. I keep hoping sooner than later that you can get here. So, I mean, the public's allowed to come in and we're doing events, so I keep pushing. So we'll see. I'll advise you.
Okay.
Through you, Chair.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
So I understand you said May 11th is our next meeting. I have a Phenom conference / board meeting in North Bay from the 9th to the 11th. I'll try to log on, but that conference is usually busy because being a board member, we have to participate in lectures and we have to present and so forth. So I'll just give you a heads up that there's a good chance I may not be able to attend the next meeting due to Phenom.
Okay, Seth. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Happy Easter, everyone.
Same to you.
Happy Easter.
You have to do the last item, Savannah.
Oh, which is, we need someone to, we're going to adjourn, so we need someone to motion that.
I'll motion that.
Okay, thank you, Sandra. And seconder,
I'll
I'll
second.
second. Sorry.
I think
Okay.
3 people.
Let somebody else have a turn.
Yeah.
So, Stephen?
Not that we're enthusiastic about leaving you, Kathy.
Yeah.
Resolved that the committee now adjourned. Happy Easter, everyone. Have a safe one. Don't eat
Thank
too much
you all.
chocolate.
And thank you, everyone. Thank
Bye,
you,
guys.
Kathy.
Have a good weekend.
Bye, everyone.